that the US President Donald Trump, who had been lobbying and talking about the Nobel Peace Prize time and again, did not actually receive so it's a setback for him. Joining us on the broadcast is Major General Dhruv Katoj, Director of the India Foundation. Also on the broadcast with us is Bazin Wagmer, the SOS South Asia Institute, University of London, joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. My colleagues Rishabh and Srinjoy Chaudhary are also with me on the broadcast. And Srinjoy, the most disappointed person right now in the entire world is probably Trump. Even a few hours ago, he had been talking about wanting the Nobel Peace Prize, and clearly that hasn't happened.
Well, this time it's not about who has got it, but rather who hasn't. And yes, the American president was very keen to get the Nobel Prize for ending what he called, and I'm not sure everyone else agrees with him, ending 8 wars. But in this case, Oslo has not agreed with his point of view, with his premise that he should get the Nobel Prize for ending 8 wars. And unlike Woodrow Wilson and Theodore Roosevelt and Barack Obama and Jimmy Carter, American presidents who did get the Nobel Prize, unfortunately perhaps for President Trump, he hasn't got it this year. Well, he could well try again and again. But at this point, Oslo is not very keen. So if he has to wait for a Nobel Prize, he has to wait for another year. Of course, he was nominated. Lots of people have been nominated for a Nobel Prize in peace. Let's not forget that in 1938, a certain Adolf Hitler was nominated for the Nobel Prize, apparently for the Munich Pact. But the Munich Pact was in any case not a particularly good one. And let's not forget that within a year, World War II happened. So this time, President Trump will be disappointed, will be very disappointed, since he claims he ended 8 wars. But Oslo clearly does not agree with him. They do not think he should get a Nobel Prize in peace, at least for now. We have to wait and see what happens next year. But as of now, no Nobel Prize in peace for President Trump. Oslo is clearly not happy enough with him.
Okay, all right. And I'm sure that he was up and waiting for this announcement. He did say several times that they may not give it to him. But, the White House official handle had also put out a post calling him the peace president, almost going on to say that he should be winning the Nobel Peace Prize. And Mr. Wagner, if I can bring you in here, is that a surprise? Trump himself has been talking about it, but the announcement that came in, is it a surprise at all?
No, it's not, because you see the deadline had been passed for nominations to be filed with the committee in Oslo. But moving aside from that, we are caught up with Trump, but not seeing what the current awardee is, Ms. Machado. And this is to be disseminated on news media, is what I want to say now. It is a slap in the face of leftist, hardline Marxist politics and their supporters everywhere, because they have been championing Venezuela's cause for all these years. Under Nicolas Maduro and Hugo Chavez, Venezuela has become a basket case. It makes countries like Bangladesh look in positive light. And I think of many other places across sub-Saharan Africa. It is a basket case. It's a hellhole of a country. And that is what needs to be pointed out, that in conferring the award on Ms. Machado, the committee has also spoken about populist authoritarianism, which we instinctively identify with the right and with right-wing politics. But what about progressive left-wing politics, the anti-Semitism and other such pernicious aspects that are propounded by them? The committee has rightly conferred it on her, and it is a slap in the face of all these so-called salon intellectuals everywhere. Coming back to the prize, well, Mr. Obama was conferred in his first year in office in 2009, and he had the humility and decency to ask, and he did ask aloud, for what? He did receive it, he accepted it, but he did ask for what? And it begs the question as to what had he achieved since he had just gotten into office in 2008. Henry Kissinger was awarded the Peace Prize with his North Vietnamese counterpart, Lee Duc-Tho. And Mr. Tho refused it, incidentally, but Kissinger accepted it. But the war still dragged on in Vietnam, and it only ended with a humiliating exit in 1975. The war had not been completed, peace had not been achieved when the committee had conferred it jointly on Lee Duck-Tho and Henry Kissinger. And of course, the final word I can say is what the former Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir had said when Begin and Sadat had been conferred the joint Nobel Peace Prize, to which she had remarked, both rather ought to have been given the Oscars.
Okay, all right. And, the reason why there has been a lot of interest in this is also because in the recent times, the US president had also made a mention, or pitched his name for it time and again. You're right, as you mentioned, Ms. Machado has also been hailed as a unifying figure in a political scenario that was completely divided. But on the issue of Trump as well, there were a lot of questions as well on whether he even deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, because is it really about the quick diplomatic wins, or is it about lasting impact on peace? And Rishabh, perhaps nobody in the history up until now that we know of, any world leader, has spoken so many times, so openly about really wanting a Nobel Peace Prize, and clearly Trump has been denied it.
Was saying it's not about who has got the Nobel Peace Prize, but it's about who hasn't. Donald Trump would be upset, but two other people who would be really upset right now would be Asim Munir and Shehbaz Sharif. Remember, Asim Munir was one of the first leaders, and I call him leader because he's the one who actually called shots in Pakistan to nominate Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize after he went there, got a red carpet and a luncheon with Donald Trump. He would not be happy as well. But having said that, as you were saying, no one in this in history of our living memory has been vouching for himself or herself the number of times Donald Trump himself has vouched for. Only today in the morning, Jerusalem Post had a front page editorial where the face of Donald Trump was published with the photos of hostage. Caption: he is bringing them home back. So in a way, Donald Trump ensured that he leaves no stone unturned to vouch for this Nobel Peace Prize. But alas, he hasn't won it. We are waiting for a reaction coming in from Washington. Many experts say that it's going to be a long rant on Truth Social very soon. It's around 5:45 a.m. in the morning for Washington. So we'll hear from Donald Trump as well, since the Nobel Peace Prize now has been announced. Apart from that, talking about Machado, the one who has got Nobel Peace Prize. She was named in the BBC 100 Women this year. She was also in the Times 100 Most Influential People list this year. She has been someone who has fought against Maduro for years. Since 2002, she has been talking about electoral reforms in Venezuela. She has been barred from elections or contesting for presidential posts. Now she is a main opposition leader in Venezuela, and she's someone who has stood in front of the dictatorship in Venezuela, and that's why she has now been named the Nobel Peace Prize winner. Remains to be seen how things unfold. All eyes now on Washington, what Donald Trump says.
Yes. Absolutely. For the work that she has done, and some of the words that have been used by the committee as well, going on to say that she has spent years working for the freedom of the Venezuelan people, going on to say that she chose ballots over bullets and has spoken for human rights for decades together, has spoken for the people of Venezuela. And Major General, there has been a lot of talk about the Nobel Peace Prize, with Trump as well making these claims time and again. And as the announcements came in now as well, like Rishabh was also pointing out, perhaps we'll see a long rant from Trump in just about a few minutes or hours from now. What do you make of the decision that has been made by the Nobel Peace Committee?
Well, thank you. In my view, the very fact that any particular individual is claiming the Nobel and demanding it is a sure shot sign that that individual will not get it. If the organizers had actually given it, it would have been seen as succumbing to pressure, and the award would have lost all the sanctity that it has. So to that extent, I really never expected Oslo to give the award to President Trump, for the simple fact that he had been claiming it all along as a right. And this award, regardless of whatever one may say about the award, is not a right. It has been conferred by somebody on certain principles. We may disagree with those principles, but the point is we cannot question them and say you will only give it to so-and-so type of people. So for them, they had to at least be seen to be non-partisan. And had they given it to President Trump, I think the very concept of the award would have been, the value and the prestige attached to it would have gone down considerably. That is one. Number two, I think a great deal has been talked about all these awards, but we must remember that the committees which look into these awards, and I'm not saying that President Trump deserves it or not, but the point is the committee which looks into this award is also looking into political issues. And by and large, these awards are political. You gave this award to Malala for what? I really haven't understood. And if I look at the awards which have been given over the past decade, it is very hard to fathom what is the rationale which these people are choosing to give an award of this nature. So I'm not really a fan of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee which gives out such awards. And as far as President Trump is concerned, I think the world will at least be relieved that for 1 year there will be peace and nobody will be talking about the Nobel Peace Prize. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Mr. Wagner, very quickly, if you didn't comment on Trump at all and the dreams that he had been building up for the Nobel Peace Prize. You spoke about the Iron Lady of Venezuela and how this win was a very significant one. But as Major General was also pointing out, there has been a lot of discussions around who the Nobel Peace Prize should be given to, and no world leader in the recent past has lobbied so much for it. Would you want to comment on that, on what Trump has been saying, and whether he was going to be really disappointed, or he would know that this was perhaps a dream that he was building up which would not really come true?
I concur in the spirit of what Major General Katoch has said. And as I was coming into campus this morning, the New York Times' page 1 screamed out at me the headlines, "Now do the same with Putin and Ukraine." Let's see if Mr. Trump can get that going, and then perhaps he can have a second shot at it. Enough said.
Okay, all right. So, Srinjoy, there have been many times when Trump has taken to Truth Social, and he's somebody who has no filters when he takes to social media to speak about, speak his mind. Can we expect any moment now some message to come in from Trump on Truth Social?
Oh, yes, you would expect that later in the day. But the important point is that regardless of what has happened, the Nobel Prize Committee in Oslo have decided that, look, we will do the decision making. It's our decision. We may be right, we may be wrong, but if they had actually said that Donald Trump will be getting the Nobel Prize in Peace this year, it would look like they have accepted all those threats, those bullying tactics that was associated with such statements. But this time at least the Nobel Peace Prize Committee have made it clear that they gave it to someone they thought was the right candidate.
Okay, all right. So the decision has been made already, and in fact, the Nobel Peace Prize Committee has clearly snubbed Trump completely, announcing Maria Machado as the winner for the year, going on to say that she has been a unifying force in a political scenario that has been largely divided. And Major General, you said that you don't really agree with many of the decisions that have been made by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee. I just want to keep a moment again on Trump there, because there had been so many discussions in pitching himself for it. You also mentioned that, for somebody who is taking his own name for the Nobel Peace Prize time and again, you know for sure that that's not going to happen. And the Nobel Peace Committee has also made it clear that the decision is going to be made by us. The decision has been made already. The announcement has been made. But perhaps in the recent times, so much interest, so much keenness on actually knowing who gets the prize. We've not seen that in the recent times. Trump himself, while pitching his name, has said everything from stopping wars to saving 1 million lives. Until just a few hours ago, of course, he said, I didn't really do all this for the Nobel. I instead did that for saving the lives of the people.
Absolutely. You see, if President Trump had a better chance of getting the Nobel had he not spoken about it. If he had simply kept quiet and done underhand lobbying or something, possibly there was a chance. After all, I mean, the Gaza war has stopped, at least for now. So but once you start talking about it in the manner in which he did, that I deserve the prize and you will give it to me, otherwise there will be consequences. I think any self-respecting institution, even if they feel that the award should go to that person, will not give it. Nobody can succumb to pressure tactics or blackmail tactics of that nature. I think that was totally uncalled for. So in my view, what they have done by not giving it to him is the right call. It will send a correct signal also to all future politicians who want this award. But in my view, the second point which I would like to give is I think there should be greater transparency as far as giving an award of this nature is concerned. As I mentioned in my earlier remarks, I'm not too happy with the way these awards have been given over the past decade and the persons who have got them.
Okay, all right. More transparency on this same, and there is some criticism, not the first time, previously as well, that the Nobel Peace Committee has found itself in. There have been multiple occasions where they've quoted some controversy for some of the names that have been picked, some criticism that have come their way as well. A lot of praise as well for some of the decisions that they have taken. But clearly this time around, we are going to see a lot of reactions coming in, especially from the White House. And we're keeping a track of that. Thanking our guests for joining us this afternoon. Clearly, it's a big heartbreak for the U.S. President Donald Trump, who has been pitching his name time and again for the Nobel Peace Prize. We're waiting for what his reaction is going to be. And of course, of those who nominated him, including the government of Pakistan. With that, it's time for us to slip into a very quick break here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
हीरे या बर्फ या किसी सितारे की धूल, असलियत अक्सर सोच से ज्यादा खूबसूरत होती है. Welcome to a landscape that redefines